Hello and welcome back to my video podcast for my books. I'm Keith R. Reese, and as you can see, we're trying some new studio techniques here for the podcast and have a better way of viewing the camera, setting up the camera so there's no movement with the camera. I was doing the handheld style for the previous episodes, but we'll try in this new location here in our glorious recording studio. This is episode 6, and today we're talking about, I think this is my 4th novel that I wrote, and I think I did it around 2011, maybe 2012. I can't quite recall. But the name of the book is it? I don't know if there's a date in here or not. I don't see a date. Anyway, this is the name of the book right here. It's called Take the Water to the Mountain. It's a pretty neat little cover. And as you can might imagine from such a title, it's actually a story. The protagonist is a Native American girl from the Arapaho Nation. And it's set in modern day times here in the 2000s. And characters have cell phones and smartphones and texting and all that stuff and the internet. So it's a modern day tale, and this girl, she's late teens, probably maybe 20 years old, maybe around that age, so it's kind of a young adult theme, drama, some comedy. It's a coming of age story, a girl trying to find her way, and had a falling out with a family member and ends up leaving her home at the reservation where she lives in Oklahoma, where the Arapaho Nation resides, and she runs away and takes a bus all the way down to South Padre Island, Texas, and decides that she's going to start her life anew down there. And that's what this story is about. Take the Water to the Mountain. And the protagonist's name is Lily Brownwood. And once she gets down to South Padre, she barely has any money. She doesn't have a place to stay. She doesn't have any work. And she's very hungry. So she is literally just going down there with clothes on her back and, and her purse and a cell phone. And she comes across a woman who just happens to have a home on the island, and she has rooms for rent. And her name is Mrs. Hill. And it turns out Mrs. Hill also is the owner of the local movie theater on the island. And all of this is fiction, but it's based on places that do exist down there. There is a small theater down there on South Padre, but I don't know who owns it. But and I don't use the same name, but I'm just using those locations as backdrops for this story. And I'm familiar with the island because I've been down there many times in the past. I used to go down every year in December. They have a little Christmas parade, and they have lights all over the island on the palm trees and stuff. And it was a good place to go for a weekend getaway and just relax before all the stress and whatnot of the holidays brings upon it. I would go in early December. And that's how I got to be so familiar with the island. So I name a lot of places on the island and describe different locales. That's because I've been there many times, and so it was easy for me to set up a story there. And I had a lot of fun of it. I had a lot of fun with it. As you may have guessed, she gets a place to stay with Mrs. Hill. And she does get a job at the movie theater that Mrs. Hill owns as well. And that's where most of the story takes place, is at the theater, and all the different characters that work there. As they're all young and high school age, college age, and the banter between the characters, it was a lot of fun to write. And one of the characters that she meets is the projectionist, and his name is Charlie. And Charlie turns out to be a very odd character. He only speaks from quotes in movies. And Charlie was one of the funnest characters I've ever created, and it was a lot of fun to do research on how I could give him lines to speak as it would be a movie quote. And searching through movies and movie quotes to see how it would fit in with the dialogue with the other characters. And he was quite a character to write, and it turned out to be quite fun. And there's a section at the back of the book uh, that goes into all of Charlie's movie quotes. And it tells you what movie they actually came from. So yeah, here it is. Charlie's movie quotes. There's a whole section in the back that's like a glossary of what he says. But Charlie is a refugee of sorts from Louisiana, and a lot of people in South Louisiana that had to evacuate and just move their lives after their lives were destroyed after hurricanes Katrina and Rita in 2005. And so that plays into the background of Charlie's story of why he's living in South Texas and why he has such a strange Southern accent, and how he became so weird in the first place with his way of dealing with his grief and having to move an entire town basically from South Louisiana to South Texas. That was just his way of dealing with his new life, is being kind of a kooky, crazy character. But he and Lily become really good friends, and the story goes through, evolves, and what her life is like on the island and different situations that she gets into. And then we also, as the story evolves, you find out why she left her reservation, and what was the falling out that she had with her family, and how it eventually resolves itself, and she does reunite with her family members because of a certain situation with her mother. And the story ends in Colorado, in Colorado Springs, and that's where the mountains come in from the theme on the cover here in the title of the story. And the title comes from beliefs in the Arapaho tribe on how if there is a division or a problem within the tribe between two people, is if there's a quarrel, that the two people with quarrel were sent out away from the tribe. It's kind of like putting out kids that are screaming and fighting with each other in the house. You know, the mother would put them outside in the yard, you know, go fight it outside, I don't want all that noise in here. And that's basically probably what the tribe was doing. If there was ever two people with an argument or a difference or quarrel, they were sent out until they could resolve their differences and then come back to the rest of the tribe. And in the case of the Arapaho, they were sent to the mountains to solve their differences, and also, as you will see in the story, to cleanse the mountain with holy water, so the water can wash down the mountains down to where they're living in the valley and replenish the soil when the thaw comes in spring, and so they can have healthy crops and fertile soil for their cattle and animals and for them. And it was a fun story to research, and a lot that I learned about the Arapaho tribe and Native American life, and how the relationships evolve on the island as well. And Mrs. Hill was a fun character to write, and Charlie was probably my favorite. And Lily, she's very down to earth, as most of my main characters are, but strong-willed, stubborn, and has a positive outlook on life, but isn't afraid to stand her ground. And the biggest challenge with this book is the reason I used Lily as a protagonist. It was the first time I'd ever used as a female character as the lead character. And so the challenge for me was to write a story from the perspective of a female. And so, being that I am not female, I found it to be a great challenge to write in such a mode. And I have since done that again with my latest novel that I wrote this past summer, that I don't know if anybody will read it for several years. I wrote a ghost story with a female protagonist lead as well. So my experience with writing Take the Water to the Mountain helped with that. But this is the book. This is episode 6 of my video podcast, Take the Water to the Mountain. It is available as an ebook online and for 99 cents, but if you want a copy like this, it is also available on Amazon as well, and I think it's listed at $10.99 per paperback, and you'll just get it in a few days if you order online. So thank you for watching, and hope you enjoy this story. It's a really good one, and it was a lot of fun for me to write, and my daughter's also listened to it as I read to her this book at bedtime for several weeks, and she loved the story as well and really liked the character of Charlie. So hope you enjoy it, and go out and get you a copy and enjoy it, or give it to your friends for Christmas. You know, books like these are great gifts for the readers in your family, and they would appreciate it very much to get a nice paperback like this. So thank you for watching, and I know this has been long, but I appreciate it. And this concludes episode 6 of my video podcast. So thank you. Have a good day and good night.